Good afternoon. It is 4 p.m. We're bringing you the developing news and the stories behind the headlines. This is Storycon. I'm Regina Lay. Some stories that we're watching this rainy Monday, July 21st. The Marikina River remains under second alarm as its water level reached 16.3 meters as of 3 p.m. today. Under this alert level, the local government is implementing preemptive evacuation in flood-prone areas. Authorities expect the river's water level to continue rising as Wawa Dam nears its critical threshold. Meantime, the combined efforts of Tropical Storm Krising and the southwest monsoon or Habagat have left 5 people dead and affected more than 370,000 residents across several regions. Pasig Regional Trial Court Branch 159 has denied the petitions for bail of Pastor Apollo Quiboloy and his co-accused in a qualified human trafficking case. The court said the prosecution presented strong evidence of guilt in connection with trafficking for sexual abuse and labor exploitation. Quiboloy's camp has yet to make a statement on the matter. President Bongbong Marcos is now in Washington, D.C., where he'll be meeting with U.S. President Donald Trump. The two leaders are expected to discuss the 20% reciprocal tariff on Philippine exports and explore the possibility for a broader trade agreement. Marcos will be staying at the Blair House, which is the official guest residence of the U.S. President. In relation to that, Philippine Ambassador to the U.S., Jose Manuel Babe Romualdez, gave a press conference today wherein he said the American Congress has approved the plan to set up an ammunition facility in the Philippines. This is for the one in Subic, which Romualdez says a number of companies have already shown an interest in.
Well, I think that the first step that was taken was that the U.S. Congress has approved the production of ammunition in the Philippines. Obviously, we're open to that one, because it's a good way of being able to have a combination of both defense and economic cooperation between the Philippines and the United States. So again, these are talks that we're pursuing together with our economic team on how we can continue to have this type of cooperation, especially with the U.S. Defense Department. No formal talks yet. We are still in the process of seeing what this new bill that was included in the U.S. Congress National Defense Act. So we're waiting for that, but we're preparing for it. We have a number of companies in the Philippines that are interested in joining that potential consortium, basically, into this production facility.
Meantime, Romualdez does not see the Philippines and the United States having a free trade agreement soon, at least not until the two nations nail down a final pact on reciprocal tariffs, which the U.S. wants at 20% for Philippine goods.
That's still very far in the sense that we have to get over this particular discussion first on the tariff. After that, we're hoping that the free trade agreement would probably come into play. If you remember, during the first administration, there was already conversations surrounding the FTA, and we were in the process of actually going in that direction. But that changed, obviously, with the new administration.
On another issue, Romualdez says that Manila will no longer negotiate U.S. President Trump's deportation drive. There are almost 4,000 illegal Filipino immigrants being monitored across the United States by the Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE. These are undocumented Pinoys in the list of non-detained docket with final orders of removal by country of citizenship as of November 2024.
I think we probably will not need to, because we've had discussions already. I've had meetings with the Department of Homeland Security on how we can cooperate with the United States on how to handle illegal immigration As I've always said, those that have a legal path should have already contacted the immigration lawyers. But I think at the end of the day, the laws of the United States must be respected, just like we expect citizens who come to the Philippines to also respect our laws. So the bottom line is there is really not much room for discussion, but to simply work in such a way that all Filipinos that are up for deportation will be deported to the Philippines and not to a third country, which I think is already been agreed upon, that any kind of deportation will mean.
Joining us today is someone different. We don't always have him on set, but today he graces us here at Storycon. We've got geopolitical analyst Richard Haydarian. Richard, hello.
Salamat. Good to see you. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Long time no see.
Of course, of course. Always a pleasure.
Zoom lang. And also from Philippine Star, of course, Editor-in-Chief, Ami Pamintuan. Hi, Ami.
Hi, happy Monday, Reg and Richard.
Kamusta?
Hello.
Good to see you, Ami, as always.
Monday, huh?
Gloomy Monday.
Monday.
Wala si Ed because his mother-in-law passed, so condolences
Oh, dear.
Yes,
condolences to the family. Wala din si Ronald.
Yeah.
He's also tending to a
Nasa Cebu pa.
sick family
Yeah.
member. He's also attending to a sick family member.
Prayers also.
And then, yes, it's, yun nga, ang big story today is ulan ulit. We're monitoring
Yes.
the Marikina River. We're monitoring Wawa Dam.
Sobrang lakas ha. Kumusta yung ulan dyan sa inyo?
Actually-
Tuloy-tuloy yung ulan dito sa Paranaque, dito sa South.
Tuloy-tuloy siya, pero you know what? It hasn't been that strong. I mean, we've seen worse.
You don't know, you're inside the studio. I just came
Hindi.
from the traffic
Even
is horrible
from
in EDSA,
outside.
in Boni.
I mean to say tuloy-tuloy siya,
Yeah.
but it's not as heavy as we've seen in the past. Which
Pero
is-
may mga flashes siya na sobrang
flashes
lakas
na malakas.
And then humina,
Yeah.
tapos
Oo.
nagpo-flash na
Pero
malakas.
flash lang siya. Which makes me, bring up that big question again every time umuulan, which is, why does it flood so fast?
Yeah.
Right? Bakit ang bilis ng floods? Like when you look at all across Manila, Quezon City, to a certain extent, Makati meron na rin.
Yeah.
All these cities, they've got streets that are flooded already. Of course, sa may UST, parati yan,
Ang Commonwealth, lalim ha? Commonwealth. Ang lalim-lalim. And there are 7 people already missing.
Yes.
At this hour, baka kung magtutuloy-tuloy ito, at kasi
Yeah.
meron daw low pressure area.
Yes.
Pag nagtuloy-tuloy ito, baka lalong lumala.
Pero sabi ng Pag-asa, as of this morning, the low pressure area is not expected to affect the country directly at this point. It's just forming off the eastern coast, pero at this point, it's not. If this one is really habagat, ito yung nakikita natin today. That's really the
It
southwest
may become a
monsoon.
tropical depression daw. The LPA.
Akala ko ba not likely, sabi nila this morning.
Tingnan natin maya yung mga 5 p.m.
Yeah.
Saka yung Wawa and La Mesa Dam, medyo mapupuno na and magbi-breach yan and they might have to release yung
Correct.
Wawa.
Oo, so minomonitor din natin yan. But yun nga, a lot of the cities are already flooded.
Flooded.
Rescue and search operations are underway. In some of them, 257 billion pesos, remind ko lang, is the
Yeah.
flood control budget for 2025.
Diba dapat may Department of Water tayo? Siguro dapat may Department of Floodgate monitoring din tayo. Parang I think isa yan sa boom sectors ng ating ekonomiya, no? I think
Ay,
sa GDP
nako.
growth natin. I always wonder, where is this growth na hindi natin
Pero
nakikita? And then pag
bilis-bilis eh,
nag-flooding,
Richard, di ba? Ang bilis-bilis ngayon.
Ang
Saka
bilis.
hindi lang naman tayo look at South Korea, no? For the past 2 years,
Yeah, Texas.
sobra-sobra yung flood na yung
Yes.
maabot sa kanila.
Texas. Yeah, Texas.
Namamatay yung
Yeah, even
diba?
Texas. Sa Poland, last week nung
And
nandun kami,
remember,
nagka-flooding din sa
Texas,
Warsaw.
binaha ang Texas.
Yeah, exactly. It's all around the world. It's all around. It's just gonna get worse. So ang point ko is the more we need the
Yeah.
Department of Flood Control kasi gusto natin maintindihan na saan
Yeah.
napunta yung trillions of pesos over the past decade in terms of investments. Kasi yun yung most important pero least monitored kasi literally mahirap makita yan.
Yeah.
And because these
Oo nga
projects
eh.
are very hard to
Paano mo daw
audit.
mamamonitor yung dredging? Sige
Correct.
nga. How do you know if it's being actually undertaken? And when do you know if it's completed? Di mo daw makita yung ilalim.
the idea is sound, pero as always, here, the devil is in the details, right? So I like the idea of Department of Water na mag-oversee nito.
Among other
But are
things,
we
yeah.
then just creating another problem because we can't even
Yeah.
track properly where did the billions and billions in flood control project budget go to every year, right? Again, 257 billion this year. Remember, the budget is still being challenged at the Supreme Court kasi it overtook education as the biggest slice of the pie, which is
Yeah.
unconstitutional, right?
You mean DPWH budget in
Yes.
in total? Yeah.
DPWH.
Yeah,
kahit
budget, yeah.
kahit na may vinito na si President Marcos, it
Right.
still came out to 257 billion for flood control. So again, I know these flood control projects take a long time, but this question needs to be raised every time there's a storm, every time it gets rainy, right? Like this, right?
Yun nga, like as I said, if it's in Texas, a little bit in South Korea, also in Warsaw last week when we were there, like flash flood. A lot of these places are not used to it in the northern hemisphere. Sa atin, I mean, we have no excuse. We have been dealing with this.
Ayos, sanay na sanay na.
Well, unfortunately, too sanay na, right?
Ayun na nga eh, sobrang
pero-
sanay
Tapos
na.
gumagastos naman tayo. It's not like sanay lang tayo and we're just fatalistically accepting it. So, sa aking palagay, there has to be a civil society effort in as much as, I mean, now with artificial intelligence, with drone technology, with all sorts of different kind of auditing technologies that are coming in, I think talagang bantayan dapat natin because the item is very big and the consequences are matter of life and death, right? I mean, sabi mo nga, 7 missing already and the rain is not even that
Yeah.
bad. So imagine if things get worse, which is almost certain over the coming years and decades.
This is what I'm saying. I mean, I know it's bad, but it's not been that heavy na continuous rain, right? And the flood control budget was supposed to go to dikes, drainage systems, river embankments, and something that the critics always say is the reason parating there's a lot of insertions is because flood control projects are very hard to audit, right?
And
Because
very easy to...
they take long time from
Right.
start to the completion. They're very difficult to audit. They're very difficult to monitor, and yeah, parang naging shorthand na for.
Pero retrospectively, can't you do impact assessment? Diba? Like, impact assessment over the past decade, itong projects
Yeah.
na ginawa natin, so matino, what works, what doesn't
Yeah.
work,
Yeah,
the
did
good,
they
the bad,
work?
and all that.
Did they work? Obviously not.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, not if we're still seeing a lot of flooding in the same places like Taft, España, sa Commonwealth, right?
Yeah.
Bata pa lang tayo, Richard. These have been getting flooded
Absolutely.
already.
I mean, bata pa rin naman tayo, but I mean, my point kasi here
I
is,
wouldn't.
there's the politics, right?
Wala
There's
may matanda.
No, I mean, lahat naman tayo. I mean, there's the politics, right? Obviously, alam na, I mean, do we have to spell it out? But for me,
Yeah.
during the previous administrations, billions of dollars was already spent on this flood kit. I remember very well yung
Yeah.
early days ni Digong, di ba? Lumitaw siya sa isang syudad malapit dito, pinagalitan niya yung mga gumagawa ng projects, ganun. So, 2025 na, for me, even from a self-interest, politically motivated point of view, if they don't want to audit themselves now for reasons everyone knows or suspects, then at least audit nila yung nangyari dati, di ba? So it creates at least a shadow of scrutiny over the next years of projects to come. So,
Yeah.
I'm being realistic. Tama naman kayo, like it's hard to audit, there's the incentive problem, but I think there should be an incentive to look what happened in the past. So, hindi lang yung tukang, hindi lang yung mga, yung mga katawan na lumilitaw dyan sa Taal Lake. I think dapat we have to also look at all the billions that was spent in the past administration at the very least
do.
on this. I think that's quite politically, I think at least more feasible, I would
Yeah.
say, given the current circumstances. It's not ideal, you want everyone to be audited at the same time, but at least we can start there and then work it. And then siguro mahiya naman yung mga iba dyan for the coming years na sana naman kung hindi
Good luck on
ano-ano
that.
insertions.
Yung hiya.
But as I said, but if it's in the past, baka naman medyo for political reasons, mas open yung iba. In the same way na
Inaga
they
nga,
were not
hindi pa
open.
natin alam hanggang ngayon kung ano nangyari. Remember, yung serious flooding couple of months ago in Naga City.
Yes.
Hanggang ngayon, di pa
Oo
natin
nga
alam yung
pala.
findings. What happened?
Right.
Di ba?
Remember, Ami, when we were talking to Senator Ping Lacson, who's gotten his team to do an audit of the 2025
Yeah.
budget? Sabi niya, there was a small town of 10,000 residents that they
Yeah.
discovered got a 10 billion peso appropriation.
Alam
Can
na
you
this.
imagine
Alam na this.
10,000 residents, 10 billion pesos appropriation
Baka
sila.
ito yung mga top 1% pa. Baka Golden Bridge ang ginawa.
Ayaw pa niya sabihin,
Trump yan,
ayaw
big
pa
and
niya sabihin
beautiful.
which town it was pero according to his auditing, and he and his team's auditing, they
That's why I'm
found...
glad Senator Lax is back. But his good friend, our mayor in Baguio, Mayor Magalong, has been very loud on this issue of the whole commission issue.
Yeah.
Mayor Lenny, first 24 hours pa lang, kung ano
Yeah.
naman, she's against confidential fund. So, and it's creating kind of a ripple effect. Di ba yung iba nagtatanggal ng What I'm saying is that, kaysa hintayin natin yung mga ibang institution, maybe
Yeah.
the mayors, LGU leaders,
Can start
progressives.
getting together and
get
pushing.
together tayo in the
Yes.
media. Kaya I'm all with you, Ami, in terms of skepticism. Good luck na lang dyan. Pero good luck talaga sa atin in 10 years from now if we don't get the ball rolling now. So that hopefully at least medyo magkakaroon naman tayo
Yeah.
ng shadow of scrutiny.
Yeah.
We have to start somewhere because this just gonna get worse. Yeah.
Speaking of
Yeah.
Baguio, did you see the yung the
Nahulog
rock?
sa pet?
Oo,
Yeah.
nahulog
Yeah,
sa kotse.
that was sad. That was sad,
We
yeah.
still don't know what happened to the dog, pero grabe, nakakatakot, no? Lucky that there's nobody inside the house or inside the car. Okay, we have to shift gears now because our first guest of the day is ready. We're talking about
Ay, sorry, may guest pala.
Duterte
That-
at the
sorry.
ICC, at the International Criminal Court. Let's bring in our guest. We've got ICC accredited lawyer, Attorney Joel Butuyan. Attorney Butuyan, thanks for joining us. Welcome back to Storycon.
Good
Hi,
afternoon.
attorney.
Kamusta,
Good
attorney?
afternoon,
Good to
Ricky.
talk to you finally.
Sir, we called you in because there's a bit of confusion over the interim release, no? So over the weekend, itong defense counsel ni President Duterte, Nicholas Kaufman, filed a petition asking the ICC to suspend their decision on the interim release. To which the prosecutor replied they were saying that they haven't been getting information in a timely manner from the prosecutor daw. To which the prosecutor naman for their part pushed back as well. I mean, how do we read this? How do we make sense of this?
Alam mo, Regina, nakakatawa, no? Because to me, it's like a teka-teka motion or an atras abante motion, no? The defense moved for interim release, and then when the prosecution filed its response, biglang they want to suspend, no? The issues in an interim release are whether or not Duterte is a flight risk, whether or not the victims would be at risk, no? They would be endangered if he's released, and the evidence would be compromised. And whether or not Duterte will commit more crimes if he's released, no? And it appears that the defense is making a big issue out of whether or not there is a country that is willing to take him in, no? If the interim release is granted. But you know, the issue of whether or not there is a country willing to take him in is at the bottom of the totem pole of issues. The three main issues are the ones that I cited earlier. And when you make a motion, you should already be sure that these three basic premises of interim release are in your favor, no? So you cannot say that we still have to wait on whether or not there is a country willing to accept him. You have to prove first the three basic, the most fundamental reasons for an interim release. And besides, the issue of whether or not the prosecution agreed to this and that condition, you know, that's immaterial because ultimately it's going to be the pretrial chamber, the judges who have to decide the issue. It cannot be, an interim release cannot be the subject of a compromise or an agreement just between the defense and the prosecution.
Right.
It's the judges who will decide, regardless of the agreement, no, of the prosecution and defense.
His lawyers have actually made manifestations as far as we know. They cited, for instance, his advanced age. He is 80 now, as compelling humanitarian grounds for interim release. Tapos, they also said, of course, he's no longer the head of state, so he is would not command the same influence, and then he also promised to limit communication and engagement to just within his family. So, hindi pa po ba nasa-satisfy yung three grounds that you're talking about?
Hindi pa rin nasa-satisfy, Regina, no? Because yung history niya talagang from the very beginning he has denied that the ICC has jurisdiction over him. He has even threatened physically with bodily injuries any ICC representative who comes to the country, no? And his supporters have been doing actions that really belie the intention to make Mr. Duterte come home to the Philippines. Kaya nga may Bring Him Home campaign sa ICC, no? Sa The Hague and sa buong Europa nga. And alam mo, if he is going to be released now, even on an interim basis, even if he's going to be released in any country in Europe, at this point, na-disclose na sa defense yung mga identities ng mga witnesses and the victims involved. Okay? Ang nangyayari ngayon, since naka-detain siya, hindi niya po pwedeng ma-leak yung mga identities ng mga yan, no? Because his communication with his family are monitored sa detention facility. Now he's going to be released and he's going to stay in a house or an apartment or condominium. Someone is going to be there to take care of him, supposedly, no? And he's going to be visited by family. So he will have the chance to leak the names of the witnesses and the victims, no? Madali na niyang kasi hindi na monitor yan dahil naka-release siya. No, so it's going to really endanger witnesses and victims at this point if he's going to be released.
Attorney, yung nakikita ko mga defense niya, parang malakas-lakas yung sa humanitarian ground Dahil 80 na nga siya. Pero hindi ba pwedeng counter-argument yung bakit ka naging mayor kung mahina ka na? Meron mga nagsasabi din ng gano'n na, well, if you're capable of running for mayor and you think you can still run a city, bakit invoke mo ngayon yung age na sa ganyang kaso? I mean, is that a valid argument? Kasi meron din mga nagsasabi ng gano'n.
It's a very valid argument, Ami. Saka 3 months ago, nagpunta siya ng Hong Kong, nag-shopping siya, nagsalita siya before a crowd for almost an hour. And umuwi siya on his own. So, wala namang issue, no? Ngayong na-arresto siya and dami-dami sinasabing issue, no? Now, even if he's 80 years old, that fact alone will not suffice, no? And wala namang ini-invoke na any medical emergency or urgency. And in fact, may capacity naman yung ICC detention facility to address any such medical urgency or emergency, no? So I don't think that's going to be an issue, no, that will be in his favor.
So yung appeal nila pala hindi binanggit yung mga chronic diseases niya kasi when he was president, binanggit naman niya, siya mismo nagsabi, he has Buerger's disease. Tatlo yun di ba? Yung isa dito na kapag hindi properly maintained could become critical illnesses. Wala siyang ganung binabanggit sa appeal niya for interim release.
Wala naman tayong nakikitang binabanggit na ganun. Although medyo redacted yung mga grounds niya, pero even sa mga statements ng kanyang family members, sinasabing si Vice President Sara mismo, sinasabing umayat siya, pero otherwise healthy siya, na parang nabawasan pa nga yung maintenance medicine niya, no? So mukhang wala namang medical issue that would really justify an interim release. And if ever na medical issue yan, dapat sa hospital, no? Pero ang kanilang sinasabi is house arrest, no? So ibig sabihin hindi medical issue.
Attorney, to what degree is this about also the psychological condition of the president? Because he's not enjoying the same kind of social privileges he was enjoying. So it's not just about his physical health, but access to a lot of people that he cannot access now because only family and lawyers can access him. And more importantly, to what degree is this also about the public relations aspect of the Kaufman office? Is this about them just trying to show some sort of a KPI because they seem to be compensated well, so they have to show something? And we even heard that Kaufman may have been even involved in communications between, Prime Minister Netanyahu's office and
Oh,
also,
really?
yes, and Karim Khan. There was even a report that Yeah, I mean, in short, this is a person who does a lot of things aside from just lawyering for alleged ICC criminals.
To add to Richard's question, attorney, I read somebody wrote an analysis on this, and they said, I don't remember who, but they said something like, baka yung strategy niya is to throw everything at the wall, and
See what sticks.
And one day, one of these motions will be successful, right? So right now, he's just filing motion after motion after motion, or complaint after
To
complaint.
justify the pay.
Right.
I mean, to what degree is this is all a brouhaha, a KPI, return on investment brouhaha?
Well, those are actually valid observations, Richard and Regina. And I think this issue is being milked, no, for its
Exactly, yeah.
political purposes, no. It's going to be this way. I can foresee until 2028, no, because it's really a rallying point for the Duterte supporters.
And attorney, just to add to this, to what degree should the argument that we should rejoin ICC play into this? Because some are saying, had we not withdrawn under Duterte unilaterally under ICC, there would have been more mechanisms to be able to provide, I don't know, the most ideal situation for everyone involved in this. I mean, does this strengthen the argument that we should rejoin the ICC?
Yes, we should really rejoin the ICC, because if we were still a member of the ICC, in fact,
Right.
An interim release in the Philippines would be on the table, because you cannot be released to a
Exactly.
non-member country. No, so it's actually a disadvantage to us. But I think we really should resume membership, because these kinds of crimes that were committed during the Duterte administration, they recur. To give you an example, the Sabongero issue, no, that can be crime against humanity, considering the number of people that were killed, no. So there is really this culture that we really have to address.
Impunity,
Crime,
yeah.
despicable crimes that amount to crime against humanity should really be prosecuted. And if our domestic judicial system cannot have the capacity to prosecute them, there should be recourse to an international body like the ICC.
And attorney, how does this play also into that, what's that, Rodrigo Duterte bill? This whole repatriation brouhaha by our legal luminaries. I think this is Robin Hood Padilla and Amy
To
Marcos.
prevent
What-
another
yeah,
so-called extrajudicial rendition.
And obviously also connect this to the case of Senator Bato de la Rosa. I think the Malacanang has already made certain statements that may point in the direction that they're open to cooperating should the warrant of arrest also be released for him.
Yes, I think this is being filed for multiple reasons. And I think the most proximate reason is to really prevent the additional arrest of additional accused, like, as you said, Senator Bato de la Rosa. So this is in aid of allies, no, so to speak, of those who have filed this bill.
June,
But of course, any law like that has to be signed by the president, ano?
That's true. Yes.
Banggitin lang natin
So
yan.
kung may aid, in aid of legislation,
Meron ding in aid of
preventing
allies.
detention, in aid of preventing
meron na rin tayong in aid of allies. I love it.
nga eh.
June 12, attorney, is actually the day that Kaufman filed the interim release request, during which he said that there is an undisclosed government with whom they have an advance in principled agreement to receive him. Can you help us understand this? Is it the defense's duty to find a third country when they file for an interim release, or it's the pre-trial chamber, or how does it work?
Well, it doesn't prevent the defense from seeking out a country that would preliminarily agree to host Mr. Duterte, no? But eventually, it's going to be the court that's going to approve, because it's going to examine the conditions, whether or not that country would be in a capacity to prevent flight, and also to protect Mr. Duterte, no, from any security risk, no. But as I said, it's presumptuous for them to make this as a major and it look like it's a singular issue. The principal issue is whether or not it's going to be a flight risk, whether or not the victims would be in danger. In fact, when there was talk of an interim release, ang dami na natakot na mga biktima, no? They've been in the process of helping victims sign up so that they can participate in the proceedings. And a lot of them, we've heard directly from the victims that they're having second thoughts because of the possibility that he could be released. Ang dami-dami ding fake news, and it really affects them, no? So there's re-traumatization on the part of the victims na the fact na this issue of interim release ay lumalabas.
Pero lalakas ba sa case nung appeal for interim release if there's a country that actually says, okay, we're willing to get him? Halimbawa, sabihin natin, yung si Israel, because there's an arrest warrant ng ICC for Benjamin Netanyahu. Ano ko sabihin niya, sige, sa amin na muna siya. Habang tinatry siya. Will that strengthen the appeal for interim release?
That will only happen after the court will be satisfied with the three major conditions, Ami, no? And this would have to be with an ICC member country. Israel is not a member country. And kailangan kasi it has to be near The Hague dahil he will be required to attend the trial.
Go back and forth, yeah.
Yes.
Pinaka-practical dyan will be Belgium, Germany, and even Netherlands. Kung gusto ng Netherlands. So yun yung mga practical talaga and realistic na mga countries na mag-host.
We heard Belgium's already turned down the request or is not said that there's no talks with them or something like that. Australia, we know, said that there's no formal request to them. Balita namin, Belgium din. But you talked about re-traumatization, Attorney Butuyan, wherein the victims are, getting re-traumatized because of the possibility si Duterte might get released. What else do you know about the case build-up that you can share with us? We know last we spoke to Attorney Conti, for instance, she said medyo nahihirapan sila a little bit, gathering evidence, gathering the witnesses. How's the case build-up going?
And Attorney, may I add, because the so nice State of the Nation address is coming up soon, should the President also finally say something about this? Because my sense is he's trying to play the ostrich game and pretend this thing never happened. Should the government come in and try to assist ICC in terms of protecting the witnesses, among others, even if we're not rejoining the ICC anytime soon?
Yes, I think the President should really come out, no, categorically, because it's really not helping. And it's confusing a lot of the victims. He should state once and for all. Kasi he says one thing pero he does another thing. No? Sinasabi niyang we will not cooperate, we will do this and that. Pero on the ground, cooperation naman yung nangyari. No? So parang once and for all, pwede bang pagtugmain yung salita sa kayong gawa? No? Dahil talagang kailangan ng mga tao yung direction from the President. Right. I can imagine even the police officers and the security officers are confused. No, if there's difference in the message and in the action being undertaken by the government, no?
In the meantime, Attorney, are you getting more witnesses? Kasi you mentioned pati nga yung mga police confused. And I understand some of them had actually sent healers na magsasalita din sila eh. Pero ngayon, meron pa ba kayo nakukuhang ganon? Right. Na more policemen involved in the drug war are willing to testify? Tuloy-tuloy pa rin ba yun?
Ami, kasi at this point, we've not been appointed as victims counsel, no? Right. Ang nag-gather ng witnesses is the ICC prosecutor kasi siya yung mag-represent ng evidence to prove the criminal aspect of the case. Our participation later on will be on proving the damage, the injuries of the victims, no? So it's the call of the prosecutors on who are going to be the witnesses during the trial that's going to happen. Although after the prosecution presents its evidence, there's going to be a chance for the victims to present some witnesses as well before the defense would present defense evidence.
So, at what stage is that, Attorney, when you get called upon to testify to the extent of the damages?
It's going to be after the prosecution rests its case. So after the prosecution, the victims will present some witnesses, and then after that, the defense will be presenting their defense witnesses. So and ano pa the I
Nawala.
think we lost.
Yeah. Hindi siya yung nawala.
ang tumatayong Victims Council, yung parang in-house ng ICC, which is the Office of the Public Counsel for Victims, OPCV.
Okay, so it's still a long process. We'll leave that there for now. Thank you so much for talking to us today. ICC accredited lawyer, attorney Joel Butuyan. Salamat, sir.
Salamat, attorney.
Thanks, attorney.
Thank you.
You are watching Storycon on One News. We just need to take a very quick break. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to Storycon. We've got developing news and the stories behind the headlines. I'm Regina Lay. Still with us, we've got Ami Pamintuan of the Philippine Star and Richard Hidarian, geopolitical and political analyst who was complaining about the flood control projects again during the break. I don't know if you guys picked that up. Also joining us
Baka
is our...
nabaha siya. Baka nabaha ka, Richard.
Naba ako on the way. Grabe yung EDSA. Things were not moving sa
Yeah.
Boni. I was stuck there 30 minutes.
Oh my
It
gosh.
was so bad. Yeah.
Oh, dear.
Oh, yun na. Speaking of baha, we've got,
Literally.
let's get out to our mobile journalist, Evan Tarinque, who's reporting to us live from Marikina. Evan, kamusta ka dyan?
Hi, Evan.
Reg, Ami, tuloy-tuloy pa rin nga yung pagbuhos ng ulan dito sa Marikina. Ibig sabihin yan, tuloy-tuloy din yung pagtaas ng water level dito sa Marikina River. Kung makikita nyo nga sa aking likuran ngayon, umabot siya ng second alarm around 2 p.m. kanina. No? And ngayon, nasa 16.4 meters yung current na taas niya sa mga oras na to. Kanina, bago mag-alas 12:30 ng tanghali, unang tumunog yung siren dito sa Marikina River. Ibig sabihin, mag-prepare na yung mga tao, mga residenteng nakatira malapit sa ilog at tuloy-tuloy nga yung kanilang tuloy-tuloy nga yung pag-ulan hanggang sa mga oras na ito. Kanina nakausap natin si Vice Mayor Del de Guzman. Bumisita siya dito and tinanong natin yung update sa mga evacuation center. Kanina, sabi niya kanina bukas naman na yung mga evacuation center sa Marikina bago pa tumunog yung first alarm. Nasa 30 to 35 na evacuation center na currently yung bukas. And nasa 300 mahigit na families yung nasa loob na ng evacuation center ngayon. Yung mga nag-preemptive evacuation center, pero marami pa rin yung makakulit na sinusulit talaga or ayaw nilang iwanan yung kanilang mga tahanan. Kanina may nakausap tayo na residente na sinisipat pa nila kung dapat na ba silang lumikas dahil may mga gamit kasi silang maiiwan. So yun yung kanilang concern ngayon. Ami, Red?
Evan,
Evan, dati
Go ahead, Ami.
yung huli kang nag-report from there, yung mga kotse nandiyan na lahat sa bridge eh. Ngayon wala pa, no?
Tama, Ami. Ngayon, wala pa. Currently, actually, nasa harapan ko. Actually, may mga sasakyan pa rin dito. Marami pa rin nanonood. Marami pa rin nakikiosyoso na mga tao, residente, malapit nakatira dito. So, andito pa rin sila. So, yung tao, yung mga sasakyan na inaangat sa mga bridge before, wala pa naman sa mga oras na ngayon. Amin.
and then just lastly, very quickly, Evan, pag level 3, pag third alarm na ba, yun na ba yung mandatory evacuation or hindi pa rin? Meron ba silang mandatory na evacuation?
Tama ka dyan, Reg. No? Sa first alarm, yung unang siren, ang sinasabi sa protocol, dapat mag-ready na yung mga residenteng nakatira malapit sa ilog. Ready na sila to evacuate. Pagdating naman ng second alarm, nasa 16 meters yan, kailangan nang mag-evacuate ng mga residenteng nakatira malapit sa ilog. At pagdating naman ng third alarm, nasa 18 meters yan. Yan na talaga yung forced evacuation. Yan na talaga, Reg, yung tipong kailangan na sila o yung susunduin na sila sa kanilang mga bahay at dadalhin na sila sa mga evacuation center. Reg?
Okay. Sana naman hindi umabot sa ganun. Thank you for your reporting. Mobile journalist Evan Tarinque reporting from Marikina. Mag-ingat ka dyan. Evan, thank you.
Thanks, Evan.
Let's also check in on the situation in Batangas, which is being also being pounded by rains, and where the search for missing Sabongeros is now on its second week. We've got News 5 correspondent Rainiel Pawid with the details. Rainiel.
Regina, Ami, and Richard, isang maulang hapon sa inyo mula rito sa Batangas. Ngayon nga no ay sinuspinde itong search and retrieval operations ng Philippine Coast Guard dito sa Taal Lake para doon sa missing Sabongero dahil nga sa naging lagay ng panahon for the past 3 days ay ramdam yung halos magdamagang lakas ng buhos ng ulan dito. Hindi man ito direktang tinamaan nga nitong si Bagyong Krising pero yung habagat yung nagpapalakas ng ulan dito sa malaking bahagi naman nitong Batangas. At kanina, dito rin sa mismong bayan ng Laurel ay yung ilog nila no dito sa Barangay Bugaan ay umapaw na. So yung from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. ay medyo stranded na yung higit 30 sasakyan na pupunta sana dito sa poblasyon. Pero agad naman nagpadala ng mga backhoe para linisin nga itong ilog at nakatawid naman itong ating mga kapatid. Sa ngayon ay nag-ikot din tayo sa ilang mga lugar pa sa Batangas. Gaya na lamang sa may Lian kung saan yung isang barangay naman ay binahana dahil nga yung isang subdivision na naggagawa ng kanilang mga pader doon ay parang tinakpan na itong spillway o yung daanan ng tubig palabas nga doon sa dagat. Sa Talisay naman, nakakuha tayo ng impormasyon na nagkaroon ng landslide pero wala naman sa ating mga kapatid yung naiulat nga na nasaktan. Balik sa inyo.
Rainiel, meron na bang evacuation anywhere? Yung medyo extensive evacuation sa paligid ng lake?
So far, sabi ng PDRMO ay wala pa yung extensive evacuation pero yung preemptive evacuation dito sa palibot ng Lawa, specifically dito pa rin sa Laurel, 21 families na yung kanilang ni-evacuate since Saturday. Sila rin yung mga pamilya na lubos na naapektuhan naman ng Bagyong Christine last October 2024 nang makausap natin sila yung pagpatak pa lang ng ambon pa lang ganun kalala yung naging trauma sa kanila dahil nga last October talagang wash out yung kanilang bahay. So sabi nila kada uulan na ganitong mga rainy season ay sila na rin yung nagvo-volunteer doon sa mga rescue team na alisin na nga sila doon sa lugar nila.
Well, again, same as sa Marikina, sana hindi na umabot sa forced evacuation tayo. We'll leave it there. Thank you so much for your updates. Rainiel Pawid, News 5 correspondent. Salamat, Rainiel. Mag-ingat ka dyan.
Thanks, Rainiel.
Mag-ingat siya dyan, yeah.
Oh, I thought there was another hit. Sorry. We've got a few minutes left.
Yes.
One thing we haven't talked about as well is yung President Marcos is in
Yeah,
Washington, D.C.
I thought that's why I'm here.
Yeah.
Kung saan napunta yung usapan natin.
Ano ba? What are we hoping for?
Tatanungin kita, Richard, mutually agreeable daw yung free trade na makukuha. What are you expecting? Marami mga spekulasyon dyan eh.
Well, I think, first of all, one of the things, again, that we have noticed is the president has not been saying much on the tariff wars that has been ongoing kasi the Singaporeans,
Sorry,
the
he hasn't said anything.
Okay, I'm being diplomatic since we were talking about
Managing expectations.
Exactly. Maingay lahat. Maingay yung Malaysian Prime Minister, maingay Singaporeans, even though they actually are being slapped with a lower tariff rate, at least earlier this year. The Vietnamese and Cambodians are making a lot of noise. The Indonesians just signed a free trade agreement with the European Union to send a signal to Americans. The Indians they are all over the place, right? So my point is medyo strange na medyo quiet diplomacy. But let's hope that quiet diplomacy will pay off. Because of course we know with President Trump, you have to be careful about what you say because there are going to be consequences. But you have to also make sure that you say at least something behind the scenes to make sure you get something done. So we're hoping to bring down that 20%, basically benchmark to somewhere around 10 to 15%, something more manageable. But of course, Ami, hindi tayo merchandise exporting country like Vietnam or Cambodia.
Yeah, exactly.
We're not a secondary export destination, export platform like those countries. We're more a service-oriented, export-oriented economy. So I think as long as we can protect our call centers, our services exports to the U.S., yun, masaya ako. And as long as we're moving forward on the framework bilateral free trade agreements. Something has to happen on that front. Kasi ang nakikita natin dito is, unfortunately, we have countries like Japan and others who are realizing that even though ang lakas ng kanilang economic influence sa US, biggest buyer of treasury bills, biggest investors,
Wala. He's still going to be very transactional.
Trump didn't give them any leeway, right? And that's why Prime Minister Ishiba was really enraged. And you can see his rhetoric was quite unprecedented. I never heard the Japanese Prime Minister saying we should start becoming less reliant on the Americans. Like, we're not getting respect, right? And Nikkei Asia, of course, a publication and quite a regular contributor, they also had a very strong, basically, editorial against the Trump tariffs. So we have also this situation whereby you being economically and geopolitically cooperative does not assure you getting also preferential deals. So we are hoping the quiet diplomacy of President Marcos will work here, because let's not forget, he's the first ASEAN leader to meet Trump 2.0.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is a 3-day
Tsaka
visit.
invited daw siya.
Yes.
O
Exactly.
Richard, kung maibaba lang niya, maibalik sa 17, win na ba yun sa kanya for BBM?
Somewhere between, I would say, 12 to 15 would be much more ideal for us in terms of at least, kasi yun yung sinabi ng DTI and relevant agencies. But obviously, he'll try to sell anything lower than 20 as some sort of a margin of success. But if the rest of the
Even
world...
19 is a win.
Yun nga, but if the rest of the world is just gonna get 10 to 15%, kasi we saw a list of countries that came out, right? Around 2 dozen.
Yeah.
Tayong lowest dun sa 2 dozen. We're much lower than Vietnam, Cambodia, Malaysia. But there are also a lot of other countries out there who are gonna get only 10% or so, right? So the president has to explain why is even 17, 18, or 20%, if ever he doesn't succeed in bringing it down, is still a success.
Yeah.
So we want to hear that. And we want to also hear that he protected the key sectors, which is our services sector. Having said that, what we have with the Americans, and this is also what I noticed in Poland last week when I was there talking to them, is that we enjoy some sort of strategic sympathy. Because have you noticed, the Americans never complain that we Filipinos don't spend enough on our defense. We spend less than 1% of our GDP on defense. The Europeans are pushed to 5%, the Japanese 5%, Taiwan is 10%. So actually, ang basa ng mga Amerikano, and some of them we interviewed here, Elbridge Colby, who's now the head of the planning policy at the Pentagon, ang sa kanila is, despite your limited resources, you're doing a lot. So there's a lot of appreciation. We saw with Secretary Marco Rubio. He has some soft spot for the Philippines. Feeling niya pinabayaan tayo, which is true naman. So I hope President Marcos can lean into that strategic sympathy and say, baka naman, pwede mo nang ibaba ng konti ng tariff. Baka naman, pwede kang mag-double down sa strategic investments sa Pilipinas.
I was
That's
gonna
the
say,
important. The semiconductors, critical infrastructure. Kasi nga, nag-decouple na tayo sa China eh. We are basically out of the Belt and Road Initiative of China. So what are we getting on the other hand? And President Marcos has to say, the the Duterte camp and their impresarios are breathing down my neck and saying, I'm not getting anything out of our American relationship. He has to communicate that to the Trump administration.
That's just what I was going to say. I think the final number, whether it's 19, 17, 12, is going to matter less than what President Marcos gets out of this. Because, again, as you said, he's the first ASEAN leader to have FaceTime, that all-important FaceTime with Trump. This is a guy who likes to meet people face-to-face and work out deals, right? The fact that he's the first to get invited says something, and the question is, what can he bring back from that, right? I think the final tariff number is not going to be as important because, as you said, we're not a merchandise exporting nation, right? Whether it's 20%, 15%, the exporters will just have to grin and bear it. Wala nang choice.
I think
right?
the thing for us is how we can get integrated into America's new industrial policy. A kind of a co-development partner on semiconductors, on lithium battery
Which there were
production.
plans of under President Joe Biden got put on hold because change of admin.
So he has to show that there will be continuity on that front. And that could be enough of win for the president.
Okay, we'll leave that there. We'll continue the conversation on Safe House. But for now, thank you so much for joining Storycon today. We've got Ami Pomintuan, of course, Editor-in-Chief of Philippine Star, and Richard Hidarian, Geopolitical Analyst. Join us again tomorrow, 4 p.m. for Storycon. I'm Regina Lay. We are One News, all sides, all the time.